Our last one.
Amazing. You'll start with it, right? Okay.
3, 2, 1.
And welcome. Why is the mic in my hand? Welcome. This is the last episode of the Bottomless podcast.
Well, of season 1.
I'll maybe say it again because you probably have.
This is the last. Wait. So we are keeping the mic on the desk since we can all hear each other.
Okay. Yeah. So we need a reclap?
No. I'll just use this.
Okay.
And 1, 2, 3. And welcome to the season finale of the Bottomless podcast.
What do we look at?
Leslie's a little.
I don't have to look at each other.
We're keeping all of this. This is not getting cut out in cut notes. What?
I was like, let me not spill on your laptop. Okay.
This is a mess. Welcome to the
Remember this candle.
Welcome to the Bottomless Podcast season finale. If you're tuning in wherever you're from, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, welcome, first time guests. We're glad you made it. Return guests, thank you for coming back. And yeah, season finale. We hope you guys enjoy this episode. It's gonna be, of course, already out of the norm because we're all in the same vicinity. Thank God for once this year, with everything going on. But yeah, we're excited clearly, and we're gonna try to make this a fun episode.
Yeah. So
That's your prerogative. Fun. So why?
yeah. So on the note of fun, we're doing from the bottom style. So are you guys getting vaccinated or not?
Yes. Call and response. Vaccine?
Yeah, no, I'm getting vaccinated, and then also my job is I think they're like offering it, and like, which is funny. They're not making it mandatory, but they're offering it. So I'm definitely getting vaccinated. If anything, I'm like stealing a bag of vaccines, and if I'm out anywhere and someone's like, I'm just gonna like assault people with vaccines. We're not doing this today. I'm sick of lockdown.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting vaccinated. I am trying to figure out how to talk to people that are skeptical of vaccinations.
I've had some of those conversations since I got back home.
Are they good? Productive?
Yeah, because neither of us had the energy to try and really... And it's not a fight. Like, I understand why people, honestly, like, I understand the basic, like, sentiment, you know, and I think anyone who is just gonna... We've talked about this before. Wholesale dismiss people's concerns. It's like, well, that's annoying, too, so... But anyway, yes.
Right. Shout out to episode 0, conspiracy theories. You gotta understand the underlying anxieties. This is actually a whole episode is gonna be a callback to our entire season.
Yeah, we'll just work through it.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the callback, so with 2020 being primarily all of us in the world stuck in our own homes, we thought what of a better way to cap the year and kind of year-end review than like to capsulate it in a time capsule of songs and music.
Oh my God.
So, and this is something that Vince and Leslie actually do traditionally, and they never let me be a part of. So now that I'm in the podcast,
a little hairy. A little hairy.
Okay, first of all, I've asked Kevin to do this like 3 years in a row, but carry.
Yeah, so this is something, a tradition that Leslie and Vince would do all the time, and then we thought like, oh, this would be a cool way for like, you know, let's like time capsule your year. And I thought like, man, especially with COVID. Like, music was the one thing that's it. So we all made playlists, we interchanged it and said, this is what my life was like for 2020. And so we all made playlists, exchanged playlists, listened to each other's playlists, and now we're going to, like, go over, like, you know.
We're going to go off playlists.
On each other's playlists.
We're going to go song by song and do an interpretive dance for each.
And listen to each song. Yeah.
And just so you guys know, the playlists are, like, at least 20 songs each, so it's, like, gonna be five
well, not
most.
Yours, because you only have like 14 Prompt here, which I was shocked about.
Vince told me 3 to 5 pages, so I did 3 pages.
What pages?
You know how like when you write a college paper and the professor's like 7 to 10 pages and you're like, you're getting 7.
okay.
You're getting so 7.
You're getting 6.75.
And the font's gonna
1.5 space.
and the period's gonna be like 14 point font. Yeah, so we're gonna do all the songs and all it's like 60 sets, so get ready for a long episode.
Well, and to provide a little more color on the prompt, because I know when we were first talking about like Kevin, you know, just had a couple natural questions that arose, like, wait, so like, are we supposed to sort of treat it like chronologically, like moving through, or are we supposed to try and really find like lyrics that tell the story? And it was like kind of just like make it your own. Like if you want to make it more about vibes, you can do that. If you want to try to be more explicit with like telling a story about how you felt moving through the year. You want to do it chronologically based. So I think we'll get to this, but I'm pretty sure after listening, we all took kind of distinctive approaches to like how we structured our playlist.
For sure.
So. What? No.
No, I was trying to go back to my structure. Yeah.
When Leslie described it to me, she essentially said like, if 10 years from now, if you were to go back to this playlist and read through it, it would kind of like music can make you nostalgic to a certain time and place in your life, right? So she was like, when you listen to that playlist, it should just remind you of that year 2020. I was like, oh, that's a perfect way to put it. Like, yeah.
So I guess to start off, we can kind of look at some of the common threads that popped up, which were a few. A light note, the George Floyd protest. I feel like that surfaced in all of our music. I guess, do you guys know which one mine... I feel like it's probably obvious, but did you catch up which one of mine was related to that?
I'm trying to look through your list now.
Now I feel nervous that I'm going to get it wrong.
Okay, we can also play songs.
I mean...
Play the song. It was the Chris Brown and Gunna song, wasn't it? It was the...
Was it Killing in the Name?
Yeah.
That was honestly so good. Like...
So yeah, the rage in the rage...
The rage in the machine!
I'm going home. Yeah, the Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name was mine. Honestly, I had a couple. I was gonna do. It could be that Kendrick Lamar's "All Right." I played the shit out of right after the protests broke out. Also, System of a Down, Prison Song. All these songs are throwbacks. So it's hard to pick one, but I feel like this one will remind me of this year because it's such a like. It's just like a fuck.
It's like fuck what anyone is trying to tell me to do. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Full out fuck 12.
Yeah.
And that felt good this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like we're going to get through this. It's going to be all right at the end. It's more of like, no, like literally just the epitome of fuck you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I think was a carryover into my song. That I actually feel like I maybe had more than one, but like, which one did you? I mean, it's pretty obvious for me.
The clipping one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clipping is a project with David Diggs, which is the guy who plays Thomas Jefferson in Hamilton.
I told him because he was like, "Yo, you looked it up on your phone?" Because he saw like the searches on my search engine, and I was like, "Yeah," because I was driving, and I was like, "Is it?" Because I mean, his voice is so distinct, and of course, and I was like, "This is so yeah," and I was like, "Oh, he's like a." Described him as like a experimental hip hop group that does all. And I was like, "Yo, this shit is it."
His other stuff is really good. Like, yeah. And he actually was on the Tightrope podcast with our friend.
Was he really?
Cornell. Yeah.
Oh, yes, our friend Cornell.
Shout out who has been mentioned in every episode.
Hey Trisha, hey girl.
Okay.
I wish.
So this one is just a lot more. It's just very explicit. It's chapter 319. The whole song is basically just like, shut the fuck up. Like, no, like, what do you expect? Like, the streets are burning and they're gonna keep, and like, yeah, I mean, I, like, the whole message is basically just like, no. Like, the whole message is like a burning cop car, which is the image that is with the song. And I very much feel like just a lot of what Vincent was saying of just like that resonance of things I've taken away from, like, the George Floyd protests and just this year in general in the area of just, like, injustice against Black people that, honestly, this year I did learn much more about. Like, it, you know, there was that whole conversation about, like, if you hadn't already been enraged, like, you weren't paying attention. And I definitely own that. Like, I was aware of some of this stuff, but it was so much even more that I learned and, like, engaged with. And it really is just, like, that is the energy, right? It's like, it's so far past like the point of this whole idea of like, oh, we'll just move on, or oh, now let's just focus on unity. It's like, no, like this is momentum that like is gonna intensify this year, like so.
Let's get canceled. So yeah, like no, that's the. So we talked through different episodes, especially man. When this is gonna be such a callback. When did we start? When was our first? What month was our first episode? Yeah.
Okay, we uploaded episode 0 September 6th, and we uploaded. I know, it was only September, and we uploaded episode 1 October 6th. So only October, November, December, like only like 3.5 months ago.
That's so crazy because I feel like
it feels like a whole year.
Wow.
Well, but to be fair, didn't we have like 2 months of just like
we did? That's what I was saying. Plotting, brainstorming, rough drafting. Yeah. So man, I feel like we were. I felt like conversations were happening between us two on the podcast in the midst of like April to July, which is crazy now that you say that. But regardless, the J. Cole song was like with everything I agreed with. Like I agreed with.
Wait, just to be clear, the J. Cole song is
Snow on the Bluff. Which he got in a lot of trouble for on Twitter because he made the song, and then Twitter was like, "You talking about No Name?" And I think he tried to like duck it as if he was. I don't know if he did, but I think he was trying to duck it like, "We're talking about No Name." But then eventually, I think he came out and admitted he was talking about No Name.
No Name dropped a
she had
response.
a fire.
She dropped a response. Yeah, no, the general message of the song, which I think the message was like him saying, "Man, like." Everything you're saying is like good stuff, but like treat me like a child. Don't talk to me like a child. Treat me like a child who doesn't know, and put your arm around me and help me to understand, rather than making me feel like you're like condescending me almost. Which is like I feel like that's the way he felt like he was coming off, was like almost condescension. And he's like sitting there like, yo, I just honestly grew up in a fucked up environment where people around me didn't know. And so you seem very elevated and informed and educated on these issues, and so it would be nice to have someone, especially of my own ilk, of like black people, to come alongside me and inform me and educate me, rather than like shame me for not knowing. So, and that was a big conversation with me. Like I was talking to Vince about friends that I had who their tone during the George Floyd thing was coming off very like. Almost like, yeah, I feel like I was being shamed or felt like being talked down on. And I was like, man, like, I want to help and I want to be an ally. Like, if someone doesn't know kids in Africa are dying because of blood diamonds, if they just genuinely don't know and then you shame them on the street for wearing a bracelet, it's like, man, that's not the most inviting, welcoming way to, like, try to include someone in the fight and in the campaign against blood diamonds in Africa. It's like, hey, like, it'd be easier. It might be more, like, more bees with more, we catch more flies with honey, right? Might be more helpful for your campaign if you were like, yo, did you, like, do you know, like, those diamonds that came from this shop, do you know they sourced blood diamonds from this part of Africa? So for me, it was like something that just resonated because of real life shit that I was having with conversations with people where I felt like I was like, yeah, I resonated with the idea. Even with all, like, the kind of Twitter upheaval that happened as a result of people who were like, this motherfucker! So yeah, that's where that song came. It really got captured as, like, a time capsule piece for 2020.
I love and hated that moment so much with Cole and No Name.
Yeah.
I hated it because I hated how, like, the Twitter version of the argument, like, very Twitter, like, cancel-y, like, fuck you. I loved it because I feel like people assume that all black people think the same, and, like, it erased, like, a very healthy, like, in-house, like, because I would say, like, in-house issues debates that tend to happen around these things.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very interesting. I mean, I have my own opinions on all sides of it, like, generally and specifically, but I
what were a few of your opinions?
I thought it was interesting to come into a moment that we haven't been in our lifetime and to see in this context, what do the conscious black figures do? How do they respond? Because I don't think anyone really had been in this situation unless you were alive for like the 60s uprising. So I think to see the difference in reactions, how some people, and I shout out Kendrick Lamar earlier, like some people like Cole and Kendrick weren't as loud as some people expected. I think that was just interesting to see. And then also even like the Obamas of the world probably could have been out in the streets leading the charge, first black president. So just to see like the difference in how people respond to the situation, I guess love is a weird word because a lot of it, like, I didn't necessarily like. But I don't know. It's just interesting to see how we respond.
And almost like a platform for that, right? Because it's not, like where more people are paying attention to like these voices, and like there's more space, and like
it is like you take up a mantle as a space of like the forefront of Black thought, Black art. Bitch, now's the time. Now's the time. So yeah, it was interesting. Also interesting to see even like non-Black figures at the riots in LA, like to see who was really holding it down with Black Lives Matter. So shout out to a lot of them. People like JoJo, Kalani, like these non-Black figures that are holding it down.
Interesting. Yeah.
What a weird year.
My quick thoughts. I'm so glad you put that in there because I just feel like it's such a rich, like, quick touch point for so much that we talked about, like, through this whole season. And I'll just add that I loved hearing both of your thoughts so much, so I'm kind of, like, soaking them in. But my personal take is, like, I saw that sort of play out, and I have so much respect for J. Cole as a person and an artist, like, just from what I know, you know, it's just, like, he's always been someone that's, like, man, and obviously, since he's from the Ville, it's, like, there's some love there. And I know he came down to Fayetteville for, like, some protests. And I know, like, back, I used to work for, the paper here, a small, anyway, publication, and I know that, like, we would do stories covering, like, stuff, it wasn't in the big news, it was, like, he comes and, like, I think at the skating rink, like, did some, like, charity things for, like, you know, birthdays for kids who might have, like, illnesses and stuff. So anyway, but on No Name, I do feel like there's an aspect that often gets ignored, especially in spaces that are dominated by male voices, where you don't realize, like, the whole critique of, like, a queen tone. I do think it fails to recognize, like, whether or not in this one specific instance with, like, him and her, you do have to look at things from a broader lens and recognize that part of the reason I think he had so much backlash, particularly from, I think, like, Black women, and from women in general a little more strongly, is because women do tend to be tone policed at such a more extreme level than men. And women tend to be, if they are speaking in a way that's considered, like, normal for a man, or he's just commanding, or he's just confident, or he's just, you know, being a dude, it's like, somehow a woman is, like, catty or aggressive or too, you know what I mean? Or, like, so I think that was, and, you know, I would hope everyone involved, like, as artists and people, took things away from that. You know, everyone who decided to jump in, like, it's not about what happened on Twitter, right? It's like, I think both J. Cole and No Name are... People are people outside of their artists and outside of what they produce, right? As artists. And, like, also, like, think about any lightning rod art that's been created. Like, it's inevitably, especially if you're talking about something so painful and so intense and, like, so urgent, it's like, of course it's gonna come off.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And so, like, I understand both perspectives, but I definitely do, like, sort of, if I had to pick a side.
No, for sure.
You know, and I will offer, Kevin, just to consider, like, you talking about tone and everything. I mean, think about some of your, like, Facebook posts following, like, as you got more and more involved. I'm sure some people found your posts very inflammatory and would have thought, like, wait, now, you know, you were like, white evangelical Christians, blah, 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 like, you know what I mean? And you were doing that because it's like, how's it not so obvious, like, da-da-da-da. And I just think sometimes that happens. Again, like, artists are people outside of their art. And, like, yes, there's a certain social responsibility, but also it's like, in some sense, I feel like artists, it's like you breathe in, and then, like, it's just her exhaling. Like, it's the next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, for sure.
Just a thought.
No, I love that. And to color it more, just quickly add to that.
I love how Vincent was like, this is going to be a short episode, guys. We're on one song! Okay, go ahead.
No, I think why I was so turned off by the Twitter aspect of the conversation and, like, the Twitter element of how the debate turned into is that it became, like, a very almost essentialist, like, fuck you, no fuck you type Twitter war, where, to me, like, as a Black man, like, to pull the identity card, I feel like I heard a lot of hurt on both sides, and from No Name, it was largely based on kind of what you were saying, which is not, that's a threat that's not unique to this moment, but also the hurt of J. Cole being in that platform, and again,
it's like that's
none of us have experienced this in our life before, like, so I
think if you're gonna take time to, sorry, go ahead.
But I just feel like to me, I didn't watch that and see an argument unfold. To me, like, it was more of, like, seeing two hurt people in this once in a lifetime context. Which is why I call it, like, in-house. Like, I almost wish, not that people that aren't Black couldn't learn from that discourse, but I feel like there's like a wealth of history and pain that I think people that aren't Black don't see, as opposed to just seeing, like, a Twitter argument. So moral of the story is fuck Jack Dorsey and Twitter. So. Just kidding. I might want to work there one day. Yeah. I love Jack Dorsey. Shout out Jack. No, next.
I listened to Leslie's playlist first. I'm trying to pull up the list real quick and go through and make sure I'm like getting it right. There was a lot of songs that like. Oh, actually, the layout and the vibe and the mood of Leslie's playlist, it made me. I was like, oh, this is like Leslie's personality. Like there's like sonically how a lot of the songs, like the first song, it's I don't want to pronounce his name wrong. Kanon. Like sonically, the beat of the song is "I Was Stabbed by Satan," and so like the way sonically, the way the instrumental is, it's not a song that I traditionally like would listen to, and so I was like, but then I was listening to it like I was imagining myself like in Hawaii, like in an island environment, and I was like, this song,
literally same. I was on the island.
I was like, this song makes. I was like, I get how you can be in like Barbados or Hawaii
or
the
Somalian. So like, and it has apparently the largest coastline
in Africa, right? The Horn. It's the Horn.
It's like on the upper. Right.
Got you. But it has the coast, right? Because the pirates and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that Somali, I mean, he's talking about in the song, some of his music, Somali pirates who, like, and I studied a little bit about, like, just from Middle Eastern culture, Somali pirates and how that shit is, like, some real-ass renegade type, like, criminal shit going on over there. So anyway, a lot of these songs, instrumentally, it felt like, oh, this makes sense of, like, man, yeah, if I was in these environments, it in my environment, it kind of seems out of place, but I go, I can see how it brings these images to mind. So it was a lot of that where songs felt like really, really, they would blend well with those kind of coastal environments. And then there's some like moments where like Leslie has a very like uniquely quirky personality. Kind of like Anna was quirky, like Anna Beecham, rest in peace. But Leslie has a very like beautifully quirky personality. So some songs felt quirky, and I was like, "Yep, there's like the." And then some songs felt like very like, but it felt like the song where like the guy had his daughter singing with him on the song. Love. Yeah, like it's very soft, like beautifully, like delicate and like vulnerable moments. And so I was like, yeah, this feels like. And then there were songs that were like hard hitting, like hard like chat, like was it 319 chapter? There were songs like that. Like there's these tones that feel they don't like the tropical coastal songs don't feel extreme, but like that chapter 319 song is it can feel in a very like not extreme, but it can feel on like a hard hit driving side of the spectrum of hip hop. And a lot of other songs felt like very dry, like Dope by Jesse Ray. Some of these songs felt like party-ish or very driving, where the drums and the aggression in the song is very driving. So you have those moments and those tones in Leslie's playlist, which are very like strong and very emphatic, and then you have these soft moments where this father is having his daughter sing. So like these very beautifully like it's almost like two extremes that shouldn't work well on a playlist, but they coexist in the same space very beautifully. And you go, yeah, this feels like Leslie's personality. This is a very beautiful mixture and recipe. Like an alchemist has to put this stuff together to make it make sense as one. So that's what the general like feel that I had for her playlist. I was like, this feels like Leslie as a person. Like,
thank you, Kevin, for listening with such like generosity.
Because Leslie's right. I psychoanalyze the shit out of people. So when I get music from people, especially a playlist, like 20 songs is like a good. It's a good. Like I realized I was like, yo, if I ever want to know somebody, I just need to steal their phone and like go through their playlist and like cipher through.
This is why for 3 years I was trying to get Kevin to do a playlist with me so I could share more about myself. But he said no.
Anyway, I can't recall. So no, it was crazy because like there's something about music where it's almost like, man, I can kind of skip like a 3-hour conversation. Just give me your playlist. Like before I meet you, give me your playlist and then like let me listen. I'll go, oh shit! Like
I'm not trying to talk. I'm just trying to hear your playlist.
Let's not touch it all. Just give me an hour playlist and then I'll decide if we can move to the next.
That's a vibe.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
I was very joyful listening to your playlist.
Aww.
It felt like there was a lot more time spent in a headspace of like movement, like in like I don't know, like the Kid Cudi song felt like, I mean, just in a literal sense, it's like very psychedelic, but like broadly speaking, like a new terrain to explore, and like why don't you come explore with me? Like the Kanon song, the Jesse Ray song, the Charlie XCX song. I don't know. There's even the Coco Rosie song. Like there's a sense of like wonder and adventure. And I was just knowing you this year. I was happy to hear that was the vibe. More so, there were times when I felt like you were like listening to music that was more introspective, like the Sufjan Stevens song, or like the Death Grips, which is like very, I don't know.
Man, I've been vibing on that song for a good 2 years.
Death Grip song?
Yes! It's one of my favorites by them.
But I feel like those songs put me in a headspace where I'm like really sitting there, like sitting and either like really thinking, or like just pushing my mind in this like weird psychosis space, like Death Grip does. But I feel like, I don't know, it felt very, there's like movement to it, which I don't know. I just knowing you, it's been a hard year, like in general. So it made me feel, I was pleasantly surprised to feel that movement and.
But it wasn't all Death Grips?
Yeah. Literally, yes. But yeah, there's just, I don't know, a lot of beautiful moments that I really appreciated. And a lot of Hawaii vibes. Shout out to Kanan and the Love is Love song. I was like, okay, Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah, very warm playlist. A lot of green.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys. I'd say you guys both summed up how I kind of felt about it and how I felt making it. And I even pleasantly surprised myself where I was like, this is such a like kind of more happy and kind of like movement. And I was like, that's like accurate. But I also will say that when I used to make these playlists, I tried just for myself and knowing how I process and look back on years, I tried to keep them a little bit more chronological, like where I would be like, you know, even if this song fits better like in the first half, if I was listening it in the second half of the year, like if it fits better in the first half of the playlist, I would usually try to still keep it closer to the end of the playlist because like I want it to feel a little more like if I just started listening to it in November, I don't want to put it in March.
Okay.
But this year I drew that out, which was really good and like a lot more because I am making it from the perspective of the end of the year. And so if you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like there are points in the year where, hell no, this would not be indicative at all of like, you know, it was not happy and not moving. But like here at the end, it feels really nice to look back and like, I want to carry where I'm at now. You know, I'm carrying that into 2021. And so like, I want that, you know, it felt nice to look at the year from that lens and like, and it's accurate, right? But it's just like, you could make 10 playlists for the year and they'd all be different vibes, right? Like, especially if you listen to a lot of music.
A week.
Yeah. Do it every day.
Yeah. One other piece that I left out, like kind of building on that movement piece, it was also this feeling of like a certain confidence in your movement that I really loved feeling from you. Like the Tierra Wax song.
Yeah.
I feel like it was another place, but I don't know, like a movement that isn't hesitant.
I got bigger fish to fry.
Hey.
I can tell a lot. Yeah.
So
your favorite song off Leslie's playlist.
Ooh,
your favorite
one.
song on Leslie's playlist.
Good one. What's yours, Kevin?
Home with You, FKA Twigs.
Oh. Was that your first time listening to it?
I never heard. So it's like it's 5:30 in the morning. It's like the lights kind of. It's not even sunrise yet. Like
didn't know
that. It was a whole like her voice in the dark and dry. I was like, oh my. Crying.
You gotta listen to the album.
Stop! I'm gonna go back though. I'm stopping the play. I'm gonna cry right now. Replay this song and like.
Gosh.
Well, Fucka comes back up later. Oh, her real fans call her Fucka Twigs.
Fucka Twigs.
Just kidding. It's just.
Wait, is it really? Because ever since you said that, I was like, oh, I guess it's Fucka Twigs.
No, it's FKA Twigs.
You
just call it Fucka Twigs.
That's hilarious.
You can't just
this whole time.
make
ever
up.
since he said that, like a year ago or something, I was like, oh, I guess it's Fucka Twigs. So I've been saying that. Now you've been making
for a year
or something. It was a while ago.
Can you imagine Leslie backstage at a VIP meetup with her and she's
embarrassing. Okay.
Anyway. No, I got to see Fucka Twigs at this nice, like, renovated theater in downtown LA with Caitlin, and I just feel like ever since then she's been Fucka.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it. Favorite song?
I don't. If I had to say that Anything song, Adrian Linker.
Oh, really? That's
a very beautiful song.
I know. It's like so warm and so pure and so just like genuine, straightforward. Yes.
Quick question on yours. What's the goose?
What do you mean? What's the goose?
When you listen to that song.
That song to me, first off, I love this artist and I've been following her for a long time.
Remember the goose?
wasn't about like my goose is gone or missing or. And I was like, what's that? I'm glad you asked because I always ask shit like that, and I didn't want to ask.
Yeah, that was the goose.
Okay, first of all, anybody who wants to check her out, once again, a failure at not knowing how to pronounce her last name. It's Marie, and then her last name is spelled. Does anybody know how to Sioux?
Is it Sue?
Sue? Marie Sue?
Maybe.
I would guess so.
But her album Faces in the Rocks is incredible, so I highly recommend it. So I've been a fan of hers for a long time, and this song about the goose, it makes me, it kind of embodies something about, I think, like my form of femininity, like, and which is a big thing that I feel like I was so much more able to like just enjoy this year through all the different, through deconstruction, through some other big personal movements of just like enjoying like my flavor and brand and like way of moving through the world, like as a woman. And just like when she sings, like there's this little interlude in the middle of the song where like she's like something about like, do you see me, and like in the moonlight, and it's just like the way that it sounds and sort of like the words, but it's just more like the vibe. It just like, it feels like me, like, and it feels like me sort of like stepping out in a way that I like haven't in the past, which I think relates to like what you guys have said about like a confidence and like a movement and like a happiness and just sort of like a ethereal, like an ethereal feeling, which I do feel like when I'm moving in certain spaces and ways, like it's how I feel. Like I feel very much in tune with like, you know, like not as a separate part, like just like in tune with sort of like the environment around me. So that's what that song is. The Goose.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions before we move on to
the podcast? Is the goose.
The podcast made it into my 2020 raps. Because, you know, I'll listen to them like that. Isn't that so cute? I'm airplane, but also kind of
proud parent. Put the kids in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
That'd be horrible. I think it was my third most listened to podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I don't do Spotify.
Lack
So.
of commitment.
And Apple Podcast doesn't show you like Apple.
Yeah.
Apple needs to step his game
They
up because
do need
every year when that shit happens, Spotify, every Apple Music listener, including me, sits there and is like, this looks like so much fun. We don't get
I
shit.
had to make your playlist. See, Kevin, look, this was the dedication. I made your playlist on my Spotify because I don't have Apple Music, so that I could listen to it. Yeah.
Say I had to rebuild, and I was like, this is so fucked. Like,
Apple, get it together.
Yeah, Apple is slacking.
All right, whose playlist should we jump to next?
So we both did Leslie's.
Oh yeah, we were
now
gonna do we were gonna do yours next. Yeah.
Oh shit, were we?
Right? Because you said you wanted Vincent to have to talk twice.
You're right. All right, yeah.
You start us off. Vincent.
Fuck. Okay. Go ahead.
First, I gotta say, and more tune for your head top. So watch how you speak on my name.
You know?
A classic song. Your song made me feel less joyful than Leslie's.
Wait, my playlist or my
your playlist?
Here we go.
I can't imagine why. Explain.
For like a lot of my notes for at least 3 songs, my notes to remember the song was Emmy, like I Miss You. So that was like that was the thread that came up.
Okay, fair.
Cute.
Fair.
The one thing that resonated with me, I feel like a sense of loneliness, which I saw in a very broad sense. I think in all of our playlists, I assumed it was more pandemic related, but I just know. Also, I know your year this year.
Yeah.
Some of the more specifics. But I really resonated on a sad note with you. It was like a theme of not just loneliness, but like there's this like I'm lonely, you're over there lonely. Let's be lonely together. You know what I mean? Which came up in my playlist a lot less so. But I don't know, there's something to that, like, that relationship that I feel like that was the dynamic of, there was a you at the end of this playlist when you were making it.
That's a good way of saying it. We've all been there. We've all been there when we're making clips and there's a distinctive you.
But
shout out you.
But the way I resonate with it is that also when I did my own notes, there were songs that I put like a capital U, even though I didn't have anyone specific in mind. But there's like a general, like, there's that amorphous you that I think we're all just getting to the age where we're lonely.
Proverbial I can't eat alone again when we're talking
Wait till our bottomless playlist in our 30s. Wait till the level of.
Oh god,
I
don't want to think about that.
Oh.
Leslie, wait to age shame me. Wait till we're 30. I'm 30 in 9 months.
Still in the spring of my life, tender bud age of 26.
Oh,
so that was like the general theme, and I feel like there were a lot of like I feel like you dived into that heavier as opposed to like just surveying that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was like a slight shout out to like some medication. Shout out to that Bad Bunny song, which first of all that song and music video bumps. Homie's at a party about to hang himself. That's the video right there. It's a vibe. It's like a bop.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah,
it is a bop.
That's very 2020 and very I feel like just like our generation, or maybe more socially conscious strains of our generation, where it's like it's natural to kind of we all know. We know the existential dread.
But it's like such a sick, like, for lack of a better term, sick, like, depressive, but there's the release because the whole video they're dancing. Like, it's a vibe. Yeah. And I feel like maybe that was you this year, dancing. I didn't think.
Toward the news.
The reason, I'm not sure if y'all noticed, I didn't notice it until I listened to the song for like the umpteenth time. In Bohemian Rhapsody, he goes, I sometimes wish I'd never been born at all. And then there's a part where he's singing, and he goes, he's saying Bismillah, which in Arabic means in the name of God, like a prayer. It's how you pray to God, Bismillah. Please let me go. Please let me go. We will not let you go. Please let me go. We will not let you go. Beelzebub, which is a name for like a seventh prince of hell. Beelzebub has a demon set aside for. So it's in my strongest moments of passive suicidal ideations, which were like the strongest moments I had this year of I don't want to be alive. I was like driving down the highway in Florida with the beach on this. It's the most ironic contrast of moments because it's the most scenic, beautiful sun, wide blue skies on the coast of Panhandle, Florida. The beach is there. It's the most gorgeous scenery, and I'm driving down the highway like in my deepest moment of I don't want to be alive, listening to this song, like singing this. So yeah, so that it's ironic that Bad Bunny gave you that vibe as well because like there's those moments throughout that are coupled within the sad songs that say I'm lonely and there's a you that's lonely over there, but then there's a sadness also of regardless of I'm lonely because we're both lonely and apart from each other, I'm sad because I in my own solitude I just don't want to be alive. Kind of so it's like ironic and beautiful moments and kind of heavy deep moments at the party while everyone's partying and you're like hanging a or something. You're like, yeah, I'll be back, guys. I'm grabbing another Corona. Don't worry, I'll be back.
Well, I feel like people that haven't yet experienced depression don't realize like how it's not sadness. There's like a certain schizophrenia to it where you can like want to end it all, but like also admire the beauty around you. Like enjoying my walk right now.
That
off the edge of the cliff. Like,
it's so weird, but yes, that
so
exact
true.
statement.
The way people tend to think of it as this one little color that's like separate. That like you're suddenly painted blue as opposed to like and like it's yeah.
For sure, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I guess one question for you that I had a few, but I'm gonna pick one. Every hour I asked, I was curious, what does this mean for Kev? It stands out as an anomaly in the context of this specific playlist.
Mm-hmm. That was my rededication to God and to church. To like, to me, the church in America is like a filthy whore.
Wait, you feel that way?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which is why I'm screaming on Facebook, you white evangelicals don't get it together. Like, you... Anyway. Not I say filthy whore and Leslie starts dancing. Leslie's like, yeah, talk to her like she's a... Yeah, I feel like she's this... So I spent the past 6 years of my life behaving like that, as if she was this woman that I married and that she broke my heart, so then I got divorced. And this year, metaphorically... was me coming back like in tears weeping going like I tried to do this without you, and part of the cap on that journey of me trying to do it without you was me going I want to die. And so I realized that I want to come back and try to make this marriage work, as broken as I am, as broken as you are. So that every hour is like a moment of my soul where I was like driving in Florida again, and it's a suicidal moment, passive suicide ideation. And I'm literally listening to that album, but that song, I'm weeping, going like, because I realized what I feel in my, the sensation of my soul, my conviction was God is telling me, like, there's this woman out there you married and you divorced, and it was because of your own inability to deal with the tensions of the moment. Go back. So it was like a rededication of like, yeah, like me crying out to God like every hour, every second, every minute, we need you, we need you, we need you. So, like Vince said, like you can have Bohemian Rhapsody. I sometimes wish I'd never been born at all, and like God, every hour, like this beautiful. It's like like you said, that's kind of like what suicidal ideations can feel like. Suicidal sensations can feel like. It's like not all blue. And the same mosaic of a portrait, you have this brilliance and these beams of light and this beauty and this strong sensation of glory and saturation of like of joy and elation, and in the same portrait it's the deepest of the darkest of the valley of death and wanting to die and like abyss and gloom and despair and grief, and it's all one picture. Like that's that.
Fuck. Bottomless.
And then Free Smoke was from when we were at Napkins and Homegirl played it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, because they're playing like whatever music the whole time, and then that came.
There's something about he says, what does he say? Before I've seen a lot of you die. Something about that moment where I just feel really badass. That's the highlight of the song. I get something from watching you all die, and I've seen a lot of you die.
I think he said a lot of people going bad on me. Please, one at a time. I want to take it Dubai, so I don't have to kick one into you guys. I didn't listen to Hov on that old song when he told me pay it no mind. I get more satisfaction out of going at your head and seeing all of you die. And I've seen a lot of you die. Free smoke.
Something about that just edifies my soul. I feel like that has got me through sometimes.
Yeah, actually, I'm really excited to like listen to this. I'm excited to listen to both y'all's playlists again, like after this conversation. That song I really liked, but like I hadn't heard it before. Like your playlist, like several, even like Jaden, like I've been meaning to check out his music because I'm just interested, like what he as a person from what I know would make if he sets out on a musical endeavor. So it was really nice, and like Taylor Swift, I've obviously heard about that but I hadn't listened to any. So there was a lot of nice, like, I just haven't engaged as much with these artists. But your playlist, Kevin, overall, I think Vincent summed everything up really nicely. I really appreciated how it felt like a confidence in just not trying too hard to like sew things together into like a playlist, which I think like different years, like I remember I had one year in particular where it's like, oh, this just doesn't even really work like as a playlist, like what you would think of like as a nice flow, but like it's what it, you know what I mean? Like that kind of works for this year, like that's more accurate.
Which says something in itself.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, sure.
And that's a little bit how this one felt, but I'm not saying it wasn't fun to listen through, but it was clearly sort of like not as concerned with like as like a what you would think of as a good flow in a playlist.
1000%.
The overall threads, like I actually, this is a question. I was kind of surprised there wasn't more hip hop. Was that like a choice because some of the songs that you would listen to you didn't want to put into a public shareable?
I wasn't surprised.
Did I?
2020. Otherwise, I would have been surprised.
You remember what I told you?
Yeah.
I made a second playlist.
Did you make like a For Your Eyes Only?
Come on, shout out! Come on, Faithville! No, I made this. Kanye West had a quote where he said, "My house is too nice to play rap music in." And so as much as I love rap music, these like this was a mixture of like, which is why you have Drake, Free Smoke, Cole, Snow on the Bluff, because I'm getting to a place in my life where even though hip hop is a very important piece, it's still like the piece in the mosaic, right? So what I did was I made this playlist because it felt true to what 2020 was, and it was like this is what it was like. This is the album I have, like almost like you have an artist and they make like mixtapes or indie albums, like it's kind of like for their fans on SoundCloud. No one really knows about it. And they out of the passion of their heart, but then they have the label that makes them make the commercial album that they need to push. This was my like no, this is like the I'm lonely and there's a you on the other. Like this is the playlist I wanted to make, but I had the same thought. I sat at the end of the playlist and I was like, man,
it doesn't fit your brand.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't fit my brand of like I'm a rapper and I rap, and so I was like, fuck this, and I made a whole other playlist with all. I was like, it's all like really heavy, like ghetto ratchet gutter. I'll send it to you. I like really ratchet gutter, like Bobby Shmurda and Rowdy Rebel, like people talking about dying and killing and Zans.
You were tweeting about Sue Surf for like
I put him because it's like really like hood shit, and I was like, but
is All Talk on there?
I think it barely didn't make it.
Oh.
It barely did. But I can't remember. It might. I don't. But so I made that, and I was like, no, I'm gonna send them the fucking rap playlist. And at the last minute, I was like, I ain't about to make them listen to 20 songs. So I sent them the original. But if you guys want, I'll send you the rap shit. But this felt like kind of Vince said. Vince like, and you both of you know some of the personal stuff. Mm-hmm. So the rap is like. It's almost like a favorite meal you like to go back to. So if you always like Joe with his Thai food, or if you like to go to Sandpiper, it's like, man, this is it's like that one meal you always go back to. But then like if I look at this year, it's like, man, there was all these things I tried this year, these new dishes and these new moments, and this accurately captured what this year was. As much as I don't want to look it in the face.
That is exactly what it feels like, and I really respect that about you. I think it comes back to something I said off podcast last time because I had like. That's something I really appreciate about Vincent helping me listen better, and I meant to say it on for you, but you know, since we're recording, I love how honest you are, Kevin, and how like willing you are to sort of like exactly what you said. It's like you don't want to look it in the face. It doesn't necessarily fit your brand. Like it's not gonna project the image that actually maybe you would more want to. But it's just like this is what it is, and I love that about you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And I like how on this album, or I called it an album. It feels kind of like your little album, more so than I would say Vincent's feels like a playlist. Like this kind of feels like an album. But we'll go quick because we're running out of time. We gotta get through this. But
you're good. My mom hasn't yelled at me yet.
Okay. Quickly, I just wanted to note like also the inclusion of like Bohemian Rhapsody, and then like. It's Quiet Uptown and Stop in the Name of Love. Like, the inclusion of stuff like that more overtly feels like ties in with, like, showmanship or, like, a theatrical sense, you know? Like, that was just interesting. Because, once again, I feel like that's the distinctive choice. Like, once you include, like, something from the Hamilton soundtrack on a playlist, it just you know what I mean? Like, you can't... It's not when you can just slip in. Like, it changes the whole... And that made sense, too, right? Like, just kind of... it felt in conversation with the medium of playlists. Whether it was intentional or not, I feel like it sort of just has that feeling. So
yeah, for sure.
I appreciated that.
Thank you. Sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one last word because like I really liked how Vincent was able to name like movement and like stuff like that in mine, and yours, I guess like feels collage-y, which fits what I said earlier. But as opposed to movement, it feels like. Collage. So it's not necessarily that like you're moving forward, but it's like you're like bouncing around, like looking at something from different angles, and sort of like in a circle, like you're bouncing around off of a circle, which we all know what that circle probably is.
Like literally, as you guys are describing it, my soul is like, yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. Like that image and that explanation of that image, of that circle, and that collage, and bouncing into that. It's like my soul's like, that's what we were going through this year.
Yeah. Well, I did want to say too to tie into mine and also close out yours, unless there's more. Since you had a sad playlist, words of affirmation. When I made my playlist this year, I went back to my 2017 and 2018. I was like, damn, those were dark days. But I don't think I would be able to appreciate how much movement I've had from that if I didn't have the playlist to go back to and revisit. So maybe if you listen back to it, it makes you sad. Hopefully in 3 years, you'll be like, damn, those were dark days, but...
Or he'll look back and be like, man, those were the good old days.
Leslie did say the 30s were going to be bad.
I'm kidding. Maybe manifest a more positive 2021. Oh, God.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, first off, way to add a little 2020 wow. The name of his playlist is 2020 wow, so nice. Which adds in, I just like that sums up a little bit of the feeling of the playlist, which is like, you know, I feel like if maybe mine and Kevin's in different ways sort of like dove a little bit more into some of the like vertical spaces, I feel like a lot of Vince's, not at all that it's like shallow, that's not what I mean, but like I feel like it tends to like, it feels more like skating and coasting certain like horizontal spaces. Yeah. You know, like I feel like ours went a little bit like this, where it's like, ooh, we're gonna like bop, and then we're gonna kind of go into this like introspective space. Whereas it felt like Vincent's was a little more almost like ice skating, and like maybe went across like this way, but it was a similar plane a lot of the time, horizontally. Yes. It's a very different like type where I feel like for playlists, I like to like only listen to that. Like I made time for both of y'all's the first time I listened to where like that was all that I was doing when I did it instead of like listening while doing other stuff. Yeah. And so, like, with Vincent, there's a lot of, like, you know, more, like, rhythmic, I guess, would it be called, like, dance? Like, what is the name for, like...
There's a house.
Like,
and
house,
there's one,
yeah.
like, electro song.
Yeah, where a lot of it's more not as much about, like, once again, going on a little journey that's driven by necessarily, like, lyrics and, like, where, but it's more like putting you in a headspace. Then I feel like you can sort of, like, float out and do your own thing, and then, like, you get caught on a few of the words that come, but especially because the lyrics tend to be repetitive and beats tend to, like, so it's
She's
a really...
shallow and repetitive.
No!
Just getting that in the mic. Go ahead. Yeah.
Not at all.
I'm just kidding.
It's like a totally different, you know, way of approaching, like, moving through a lot of sound. It's like the sound is something different to you. I will say Guilty Conscience, oh my god, this is such a good song.
Song of the year.
Literally
Song of the year.
so good. Yes. I was like, damn, like, so good.
Can I shout out my favorite lyrics?
Yes,
I
yes,
wrote,
please
You
do.
look like the moon in the morning, jaded, faded, almost gone. Sing it to us.
So good. Oh, it's like a perfect song. So that's my, like, overall, like, the landscape. And then I liked the moments. I feel like there's a nice mix of, like, staying on those, like, horizontal planes for a while. But then there were moments where it's, like, if you choose to be... I don't know, man. It's hard. It's, like, I'm thinking of it in terms of space. It's, like, for instance, when you get to, like, Killing in the Name, obviously, or, like, The Coroner's Dilemma. Like, it feels like at a certain point you had, like, started to get a little bit more, like, Sherry or whatever, and then once you start it, like the second half on, all does feel a little bit more like explicitly, like you had a long runway of just like let's vibe, and then it started getting a little bit more like into, you could like make interpretations right about like
Narrative.
his mental space and
Yes.
his emotions, yeah.
For sure. Where does Side Day come from?
Music video of the year, first of
Oh,
all.
I haven't actually watched the music.
Oh, so beautiful. That's an all headspace song. Like, there's so much space in that song to
When it
fill
goes,
in.
taste the fruit of me, and then it like stretches out. So good.
And in the music
Yeah.
video, they change the song a little bit where there's even more space into it. Just so much space. I think I was dipping into. That's a very proverbial you song.
Got you.
Which even ties into songs like Breathe Deeper, which is lyrically a proverbial you song as well. Like, that song is all about...
Wait, which one?
The Tame Impala song that you just referenced. It's all about, like, letting go of anxieties. But similar to your playlist, which I love it, is, like, yours was I'm lonely, you're lonely, let's be lonely together. This is, like, I'm anxious, you're anxious, let's breathe and let go of those anxieties together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of what Leslie was saying for Vince is, like, again, like, both playlists felt like snapshots of their personalities. And so for Vince, it's like this hella house music, hella this, like, it makes sense in that setting of, like, you're rolling, you're at a party, you're playing house music. I would never either. And then, like, there's these moments which I've always appreciated about Vince because I relate, which is that there's a appreciation and a dipping into like strong gutter hip hop music, but then there's that dipping into like these strong, I don't know, is the genre of that Killing is that, you consider that screamo or like heavy?
Yeah,
like,
what is that?
Like
I associate that with you, but okay.
Pop, like, more broadly speaking, it's mainly pop punk that I would gravitate towards.
Pop
that
punk.
being like punk.
So like those are, which is you'll see that influence within hip hop now, which that pop punk rock heavily influenced. Like, you have Lil Uzi Vert and Wayne had a moment where he was doing rock rap. And so there's these moments in there where you have I've spent multiple times last Christmas 2 weeks with Vince, a week here, a week there, a weekend here, a weekend there, and the general like being with someone and like for 72 hours straight or a week straight or 2 weeks straight, you're gonna find out who they are. And so you listen to these songs and you go, yeah, this is his energy. Like, a lot of times he's able to kind of just like, sometimes you get around people and you feel the gravity, or like you feel like you should be making conversation. And Vince doesn't make you feel that way. Vince can literally just, like you said, coasting along, skating along, and you go, man, we can literally just sit here and walk down the street for the next 30 minutes and not talk, and it's not awkward, and I don't feel some unnecessary obligation to force conversation. And then there's these moments where when the conversations do happen, you see his personality come out, and you see like his soul splice open. You get to see like these fragments and these fractals and these like facets of the gem. You see the moments.
Alliteration?
Which is perfect because the climax of the fuck a Twigs. I don't want to ruin the music
Go ahead,
video,
yeah.
but the climax, she literally gets split open, and you see the fractals. Yeah.
And that's what this playlist feels like. Cause you have the genuine moments of like the hip hop influence, the strong hip hop influence, rap influence, and then you have the moments of like these strong punk rock, which feels so like a universes apart. But like again, same thing. These playlists can't make sense to me outside of you guys. Like I have the download of your guys' energy and personhood and souls and the life experiences we've gone through. And then I hear the playlist and I go, yeah, like this is a testament to like the complexity of human beings, that a human being can hold these seemingly contradictory tones and patinas and color palettes, but those items don't come together and can't exist in the same space outside of Leslie, outside of like these things don't. You listen to what the you like you have to DJ like what the who the fuck made this DJ set list, and then you take out the context of the DJ and the album and the playlist and you go, oh that's Vince, that's Leslie. So yeah, that's what I really appreciate about it. These felt true to your guys', like I listened to this and again it didn't feel like you were trying to, like you said with me, not trying to force anything on my playlist. It was like a genuine. I appreciated the fact that like these playlists didn't feel like you guys trying to paint an image or put songs that like 2020 needed to like this has because it's 2020 or this it's like no. I felt like if I like bore my hand into each of their hearts and like grabbed a handful of gush.
So after she gets split in half by the guy that splits her, a hand comes crawling out.
No!
Yeah! Fuck yeah!
What is going? Jumbo Poet and Fuck a Twig collab coming soon.
After you grab a handful of gush and you pull it out and you look at it, that's what these playlists felt like. It felt like there was pure like pureness of no filtration, no filter, just straight up pure Leslie, Vince, handful of heart gush, and like, oh, this is what this playlist feels like. It was like I appreciate it.
Bottomless.
I appreciate it.
We'll put it in the description, but we'll have all of our playlists linked if you guys want to listen. I have to add that. Oh, sorry. Were you?
No. Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're so good at talking about. I don't know. Like you're so good at talking about playlists. Both of you, honestly. I mean, like, I guess it's been a while since we didn't do last year, but like, I kind of forgot like how good these conversations are. I don't think I'm adding much of value. On
No,
I'm serious. But besides the first song, my favorite on yours, Vincent. I want to hear Kevin. Like, where'd it go? Oh, If You Ever. So beautiful!
That song has just carried me through the year.
It carries, like, I think something you said in other words about your playlist, which is, I guess a good word is, like, so if I said Kevin's felt like sort of collage-y, yours feel, well, I already talked about the horizontal, but, like, longing. But, like, whereas Kevin's did feel very, like, specific, like, yours just feels like a more atmospheric longing. And not in, like, a even necessarily sad way. Like, sort of in, like, an uplifting, like, maybe more in, like, a rising way. Which makes sense, again, with me feeling like this was more in a horizontal than an up and down. Because it just feels like, especially having heard your last couple years of playlists and having discussed them.
Poor Leslie.
Thank
you.
It feels very much like you have sort of like, whereas maybe, as opposed to like, I don't know, it's almost like a good longing. Does that resonate? Like it feels more a little airy. Yeah. So, what was your favorite song on it?
Which it's a cheat code, but Guilty Conscience, because like I knew that song before and I didn't know.
Oh, you did?
There's a lot of overlap. Like last night, I don't know who the artist is, but Old Pines or Promise, Ben Howard.
Oh,
like
he just played it randomly in the car. I was like,
hey, Old Pine was on one of my playlists from a couple years ago.
That's crazy.
But Vincent's the one who introduced me to Ben Howard, like way back in the day.
So like that moment was a similar moment with Guilty Conscience, where I was like, I'll have songs that are like some of the most beautiful songs that like I really like draw to and go, oh, I love this song so much, and then I saw him. It's like just that those moments are cool, right? To see these songs.
Like when he had that Gorillaz song, you had
Did I have On Melancholy Hill?
Yes.
It was like 2017. Wow.
Yes. Which is such a throwback. It's like one of those songs I feel like most people
Gorilla.
know. Like if you know Gorillaz, like it's such a happy anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, just because like again, like if you think about what Vince said about my playlist, like that's if you Guilty Conscience is such a good song because the music itself is so good. Like, it has that feel you're talking about where it's so ethereal and spacey and it creates so much space for you that even though the lyrics are so specific, it creates a space for you to literally zone out. Her voice is so beautiful. It creates this sonic landscape where, like, you can just, like, almost like Mario Kart Rainbow Road. You're just skating through this colorful space.
That song is Rainbow Road.
Like, it feels like that. So, but in the song, she's saying things like, 5 a.m. when I walked in, like, basically she walked in on her partner cheating on her, and the whole time before up to that moment of her partner cheating on her, she was paranoid because she had cheated on her partner, and she said the whole time, her whole time was spent paranoid of, you're gonna catch me. Like, I always thought you were gonna catch me, so I had a guilty conscience. And then how ironic, the bitter moment of, I've caught you, and I'm also enraged about the fact that I caught you, but there's this
schizophrenia.
There's a schizophrenia. Yes. I was guilty this whole time, and I know what you don't know. I know what I did. You don't know. And now, like, karma, I was waiting on karma to come back, and this is what my guilty So, like, it was this beauty, like you kind of said, this space of yearning and longing that, like, it kind of puts you in that atmosphere to feel those emotions and those tones of, like, heart longing and aching and forlorn and yearning and So definitely Guilty Conscious. 070 Shake.
Well, this was so beautiful, as was this season. And on that note, we just want to say that this is the season finale of Bottomless Podcast. You know, it's been a journey together, and we've been really honored by, like, not even the numbers of people, but, like, just the quality of engagement you guys have done with us. So thank you so much. We are going to be taking a little break, but we are going to do season 2, and we'll be back in your ears on Valentine's Day 2021. So, and we have lots of topics that we floated around. Do we want to share some of them? Okay.
No, don't give them the recipes. Don't give them.
But it is going to be a different vibe. We can say that. You know, like, we'll still be bottomless, but we definitely have ideas for, like, it'll be its own distinctive chapter.
For sure.
So yeah, just any closing thoughts from you guys on, like, just things you want to say to bookmark the end of this season.
I do, and actually ties into my playlist.
Oh, okay.
But also, my playlist as it relates to the podcast.
Okay.
I feel like this year, I was way more confident in actualizing, like, my own voice, which I've always had a distinctive voice, but I don't really use it. And I don't think I could have done that without Bottomless, because literally I have to use my voice every Sunday for a couple hours, and they yell at me when I don't talk enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this has just been, and in 2020 of all years, this has been very, very special. That's all I gotta say.
You go next.
That's weird. Okay. So fun being together in person. That's the first thing I would say.
For sure.
Yeah, my heart just feels warm, and you know, I think that this has been, like, it started, and I don't think any of us, and definitely not me, realized, like, how, like, essential it was going to be for, like, you know, we all could have gotten through the year, but I really do think, like, the reason why I'm feeling positive going into 2021 is in large part because of these conversations and the fact that we decided to, like, share them out. Even that, I think, connects to the whole idea of just sort of being confident, and, like, not even because I necessarily think I suddenly think I'm smarter than I am, but because it's, like, owning the value once again of just, like, we're all humans, and, like, we want to engage, we want to connect, we don't have to be perfect to share, right? Which, like, for sure applies for me throughout this season, and, you know, all of us. And so having these messy conversations has just been, like, a treat, and has helped me be able to have more voice outside of this as well. Yeah.
And then for me, like, I learned from, like, listening to therapists talk that, like, the important, like, how therapeutic and medicinal it can be for a human soul to be able to conversate, especially in the context of close friends when you don't have to actually go to a therapist's office. So, like, pointing back to the playlist, it was therapeutic. A lot of stuff we didn't put on pod that was pre-pod or off pod, where I was having conversations
the whole
with
second season just off
pod, where these two were helping me through moments and times and walks and paths I had to walk. So it's funny because, like, the stuff that we produced and put out was, like, you know, like, it's fun, like, almost like school projects, and you're getting to put one out each week. And so that was fun because you feel like you're actively working on something that is exciting and it's new, and you're figuring out what you're doing. So there's that novelty to it. But then all the stuff that isn't produced that you guys don't get to see, that we don't put out to anyone that you would never know because they're all offline conversations was equally important to me because like we talked about, we're all going through 2020 was a difficult year for everybody. So the parts of my life that were amplified on top of 2020 already being tumultuous and grieving and hard and difficult, the stuff that was added on top of it, the scaffolding, was made easier to bear on my soul because of you two and being able to have close people that I knew I could trust and love and who I knew cared for me and genuinely concerned themselves with me, to have a lending ear, to have a voice and an opinion and a thought and a perspective, like an informed, loving, and educated perspective on me, which is difficult because like I find myself difficult to deal with or to understand at times as an artist because I say things sometimes people look at me like, the fuck are you talking? So you two like are being artistic and kind of being just uniquely inclined in your own individual personalities. It was beautiful to see like three oddballs who like are very just kind of weird in their own ways to be able to like have a communal dynamic to them. So it was solace for my soul outside what happened outside of the episodes this year, on top of the excitement of what we did with the episodes. Again, Leslie, soft and then like joke, like her playlist, like soft daughter singing and then like driving.
All right.
Well, thank you for listening to the bottom. Oh, okay.
Oh my god, you guys!
Leslie's so
kind of
I just like quirky. All right, let's do it.
Thank you for listening to the Bottomless Podcast.
You can find us on all streaming platforms.
BTTMLESS.
Bottomless!
I can really love